WWE just tried to cover up the most vicious backstage attack in company history, and what Brock Lesnar did to Roman Reigns behind closed doors on Monday Night Raw has left the entire wrestling world in absolute chaos. This wasn't some work storyline for your entertainment, this was a legitimate assault that has WWE executives scrambling to control the narrative before this story destroys everything they've built. You think you saw everything that happened on television? You think WWE showed you the full extent of what went down backstage? Think again. What we witnessed on Monday Night Raw was just the sanitized, corporate-approved version of events. The real story is so much more disturbing that WWE legal department is working overtime to make sure these details never see the light of day. But here's the truth they don't want you to know: Brock Lesnar completely snapped backstage at Raw, and Roman Reigns became the victim of the most brutal, unprovoked attack in modern WWE history. And the fact that WWE is desperately trying to spin this as sports entertainment should make every wrestling fan absolutely furious. Multiple backstage sources are confirming what WWE hoped would never leak to the public. Brock Lesnar, the so-called Beast Incarnate, showed his true colors when he cornered Roman Reigns in the backstage area and unleashed a vicious assault that left everyone who witnessed it completely traumatized. We're talking about a legitimate attack that crossed every line of professional conduct and human decency. Here's what really happened, and this information is going to make your blood boil. Roman Reigns was minding his own business, preparing for his segment later in the show, when Brock Lesnar burst into the area like a man possessed. Eyewitnesses describe Lesnar as being in an absolute rage, screaming obscenities, and making threats that would make a sailor blush. But it gets so much worse. Without any warning, without any provocation, Lesnar physically attacked Reigns in what can only be described as a cowardly ambush. This wasn't a fair fight between two competitors, this was a calculated assault by a man who clearly has serious anger management issues and absolutely no respect for his fellow performers. The details of this attack are so disturbing that several WWE employees who witnessed it are reportedly seeking counseling. We're talking about grown men and women who have worked in this business for decades being absolutely shaken by the level of violence they witnessed. That should tell you everything you need to know about how far Brock Lesnar crossed the line. And here's the part that should make every WWE fan absolutely livid: company officials were present during this attack and did nothing to stop it. They stood there like cowards while one of their biggest stars was being brutally assaulted by a man who was clearly out of control. The negligence and cowardice displayed by WWE management is absolutely inexcusable. Roman Reigns, to his credit, tried to defend himself, but he was completely caught off guard by the unprovoked nature of this attack. Sources close to the situation describe how Reigns was blindsided by Lesnar's aggression and struggled to comprehend why he was being targeted in such a vicious manner. But the most infuriating part of this entire situation is how WWE is trying to cover it up. Instead of taking responsibility for allowing this attack to happen, instead of ensuring the safety of their performers, they're spinning this as some kind of storyline development. The audacity is absolutely staggering. Let's talk about the real Brock Lesnar that WWE doesn't want you to see. This is a man with a documented history of backstage incidents, a performer who has consistently shown disrespect for the business and his fellow wrestlers. And now he's crossed the ultimate line by physically attacking someone in what should have been a safe working environment. The wrestling community is absolutely outraged by what happened, but mainstream wrestling media is too scared of WWE's legal team to report the full truth. They're giving you watered-down versions of events, sanitized reports that don't capture the true horror of what Roman Reigns endured at the hands of this unstable individual. But here's what makes this situation even more disturbing: this attack wasn't random. Sources are revealing that Brock Lesnar has been harboring resentment against Roman Reigns for months, jealous of Reigns' position as the face of WWE and his connection with the fanbase. This was a premeditated assault fueled by professional jealousy and personal animosity. The background to this attack reveals a disturbing pattern of behavior from Lesnar that WWE has been covering up for years. Multiple sources are confirming that Lesnar has been increasingly difficult to work with, showing up to events with a hostile attitude and treating fellow performers with complete disrespect. And let's address the elephant in the room: Brock Lesnar's part-time status has created a culture where he believes he can do whatever he wants without consequences. This man shows up whenever he feels like it, demands ridiculous money for minimal work, and now he thinks he can physically assault other performers without facing any repercussions. The hypocrisy is absolutely mind-blowing. WWE preaches about respect, professionalism, and creating a safe working environment, but they allow someone like Brock Lesnar to terrorize their locker room because of his drawing power. Money has become more important than the safety and well-being of their own talent. Roman Reigns has been nothing but professional throughout his entire WWE career. He's never been involved in backstage incidents, he's always conducted himself with class and dignity, and he's consistently put the company's interests ahead of his own. For him to be targeted in this manner is absolutely disgusting. But here's where it gets even more infuriating: WWE officials are reportedly pressuring Roman Reigns to not press charges against Brock Lesnar. They're more concerned about protecting their investment in Lesnar than they are about justice for the victim of this brutal attack. The corporate callousness is absolutely sickening. The attack itself was so vicious that multiple WWE personnel had to physically restrain Brock Lesnar to prevent him from doing even more damage to Roman Reigns. We're talking about a situation where grown men were genuinely concerned that Lesnar might seriously injure or even kill someone in his uncontrolled rage. Eyewitnesses described the scene as absolutely chaotic, with people screaming for security while Lesnar continued his assault on a defenseless Roman Reigns. The fact that this could happen in a WWE facility, with company officials present, is a damning indictment of their complete failure to maintain a safe working environment. And let's talk about the cover-up that's been orchestrated since this attack occurred. WWE's public relations machine went into overdrive immediately, spinning the narrative to make it seem like this was all part of some elaborate storyline. The manipulation of the truth is absolutely disgusting. They've been feeding sanitized versions of events to wrestling journalists, threatening legal action against anyone who reports the full truth, and using their media relationships to control the narrative. This is corporate damage control at its most cynical and manipulative. But the truth has a way of coming out, and wrestling fans deserve to know what really happened to Roman Reigns. They deserve to know that their hero was brutally attacked by a coward who couldn't handle professional competition. They deserve to know that WWE failed in their most basic responsibility, protecting their performers. The physical aftermath of this attack is something WWE desperately wants to hide from public view. Roman Reigns sustained injuries that required medical attention, injuries that could have been much worse if other WWE personnel hadn't intervened when they did. The fact that Lesnar was willing to inflict serious harm on a fellow performer is absolutely chilling. Medical staff who treated Roman Reigns after the attack are reportedly shocked by the extent of the damage inflicted by Lesnar. We're talking about injuries that go far beyond what would be expected in a normal wrestling context. This was genuine violence with the intent to cause serious harm. But instead of facing consequences for his actions, Brock Lesnar is being protected by WWE management. He's been quietly removed from television not as punishment, but to allow the situation to cool down while their legal team works to suppress any further details from emerging. The double standard is absolutely outrageous. If any other WWE performer had committed such a brutal attack, they would have been fired immediately and potentially faced criminal charges. But because it's Brock Lesnar, because he makes money for the company, different rules apply. This incident has exposed the toxic culture that exists within WWE, where certain performers are treated as untouchable regardless of their behavior. It's revealed a company that prioritizes profit over the safety and well-being of their own employees. The locker room reaction to this attack has been explosive, with many WWE performers expressing outrage and demanding action against Lesnar. Veterans and newcomers alike are united in their disgust at what happened and their frustration with management's response. Several top WWE stars are reportedly considering their own safety after witnessing what happened to Roman Reigns. If someone of Reigns' stature and position within the company can be attacked so brutally without consequences, then no one is safe from Lesnar's unstable behavior. The psychological impact of this attack on Roman Reigns cannot be overstated. This is a man who has dedicated his life to professional wrestling, who has always conducted himself with professionalism and respect, and who was brutally attacked in what should have been a safe environment. Sources close to Reigns describe him as being deeply shaken by the unprovoked nature of the attack and frustrated by WWE's attempts to minimize what happened. He's reportedly struggling with the fact that the company he's given everything to is more concerned with protecting his attacker than supporting him as the victim. The legal implications of this attack are staggering. We're potentially looking at assault charges, workplace safety violations, and civil lawsuits that could cost WWE millions of dollars. Yet they continue to prioritize damage control over accountability. Labor relations experts are calling this incident a watershed moment for WWE's treatment of talent. The failure to protect Roman Reigns and the subsequent cover-up attempts could have far-reaching consequences for how the company operates moving forward. But perhaps the most disgusting aspect of this entire situation is how some wrestling fans are actually defending Brock Lesnar's actions. They're so blinded by his in-ring persona that they're willing to excuse genuine violence and assault. The normalization of this behavior is absolutely sickening. These same fans who claim to care about wrestling are actively defending someone who attacked a fellow performer in a cowardly ambush. They're more concerned with protecting their favorite wrestler's reputation than they are with basic human decency and safety. The impact on WWE programming has been immediate and obvious, despite the company's attempts to maintain normalcy. The absence of both Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar from television has created a massive hole in their storylines, forcing last-minute changes and rewrites. Behind the scenes, WWE writers and producers are scrambling to create new content while managing the fallout from this incident. The creative disruption caused by Lesnar's actions has cost the company countless hours and resources. International media outlets are beginning to pick up this story, threatening to expose WWE's cover-up attempts to a global audience. The company's reputation for professionalism and safety is hanging by a thread as more details continue to emerge. The timing of this attack couldn't be worse for WWE, coming at a period when they're trying to establish themselves as a legitimate mainstream entertainment company. This incident threatens to undermine years of corporate image rehabilitation. Industry insiders are predicting that this attack will have long-lasting consequences for both performers involved. Roman Reigns' trust in the company has been shattered, while Brock Lesnar's reputation as an unstable liability has been confirmed in the most dramatic way possible. The precedent set by WWE's handling of this situation will determine how future incidents are managed. If they allow Lesnar to escape consequences for this brutal attack, they're essentially giving permission for similar behavior in the future. Wrestling legends who have worked with both men are expressing their disgust at what transpired. Veterans who have seen everything in this business are calling Lesnar's attack one of the most cowardly and unprofessional acts they've ever witnessed. The fan reaction on social media has been overwhelmingly supportive of Roman Reigns and critical of both Brock Lesnar and WWE's handling of the situation. Hashtags demanding justice for Reigns are trending worldwide, showing the genuine concern of wrestling fans everywhere. This incident has also reignited discussions about wrestler safety and the culture of violence that sometimes exists in professional wrestling. Critics are using this attack as evidence of the need for stronger protections and oversight in the industry. The financial implications for WWE could be enormous if this situation continues to escalate. Sponsors, partners, and stakeholders are closely watching how the company handles this crisis, and their future relationships may depend on the actions taken. But beyond all the corporate concerns and financial considerations, we cannot lose sight of the human element of this story. Roman Reigns, a father, a husband, and a dedicated performer, was brutally attacked by someone he should have been able to trust as a colleague. The trauma inflicted on Reigns extends far beyond any physical injuries he may have sustained. The psychological impact of being attacked in what should have been a safe environment will likely stay with him for the rest of his career. And what message does WWE's response send to other performers? That they can't count on the company to protect them from unstable colleagues? That their safety and well-being are less important than maintaining relationships with problematic stars? The wrestling world is watching closely to see how this situation unfolds. Will WWE finally hold Brock Lesnar accountable for his actions, or will they continue to enable his behavior by protecting him from consequences? Will Roman Reigns receive the support and justice he deserves, or will he be pressured to accept this attack as just part of the business? The answers to these questions will define WWE's character as a company and their commitment to their performers' safety. This brutal backstage attack has exposed the ugly reality behind WWE's corporate facade. It's revealed a company that talks about respect and professionalism while allowing genuine violence to occur in their facilities. The cover-up attempts, the media manipulation, and the protection of the attacker over the victim represent everything that's wrong with corporate wrestling today. It's a system that prioritizes profit over people and image over integrity. But wrestling fans have the power to demand better. By refusing to accept WWE's sanitized version of events, by demanding accountability for Brock Lesnar's actions, and by supporting Roman Reigns through this difficult time, we can force real change. The truth about this brutal attack will eventually come out in its entirety, despite WWE's best efforts to suppress it. And when it does, the wrestling world will finally see the full extent of Brock Lesnar's cowardly assault and WWE's shameful response. This is more than just a wrestling story, it's a story about workplace safety, corporate responsibility, and basic human decency. It's about whether companies like WWE can be trusted to protect their employees or whether profit will always come before people. The battle for truth and justice in this situation is just beginning. Roman Reigns deserves our support, Brock Lesnar deserves to face consequences, and WWE deserves to be held accountable for their failures. The wrestling world is watching, and we will not let this brutal attack be swept under the rug.